It is January 1st. My chainsaw is at the chainsaw doctor. It needs some repairs that I cannot afford right now, or a new saw. Only about $100 difference between the two options. Neither of which can I afford right now. I may have to get a smaller model, and I'd still have to wait a couple of weeks probably to be able to do that. So at the moment I'm doing some hand sawing with this trusty old handsaw that I haven't used for a few years. These big pieces I was able to cut because it's very soft spongy wood and I had a chunk sitting here already. The smaller stuff I can manage. Enough to heat the house. Will be okay right now. It's not very cold this week or the last couple of days. It's been not bad. It's going to get colder again in a couple of days, but again for a few days. So hopefully I'll be able to get enough going to get us through that period until I can afford to do something with a chainsaw. I've got more of this smaller stuff to cut up, and we'll see how long the shoulder holds out. You can see I'm getting a bit of a pile there. Able to cut some decent stuff, the sort of medium size, small medium. A lot of the smaller stuff that you see there I've been able to break just by hand or stomping. Well, it's a lot warmer today than it has been for the last couple of weeks. The forecast high was -5, but I think it's gone higher. In Rocky it was already -1, probably like -2, -3 here, something like that. The sun's shining, as you can tell, and we've lost most of the pretty frost and ice that was all over the trees, although I bet when I go to cut some trees there's going to be ice in places I'd rather there wasn't. Kind of sad to see the beautiful Narnia effects gone, but hard to complain about warmer weather, and the sun is shining, so it is a really beautiful day. I did some wood cutting the last couple of days with the new saw. Not a huge amount. I had a sort of short time. Hoping to get a little bit more today, just getting some stuff still from right on the acreage here, and get ahead a little bit. The next week is looking pretty mild, which is good. We won't be burning nearly as much wood. And it's only early January, so I'm sure we still have cold weather coming, so I'd like to get a bit more ahead on the wood. start hauling wood today, I had to clean up a little bit underneath this tree. This is a large spruce tree, and just off to the left out of sight is where the old log house has fallen down long ago, nothing recent. There often are cats going in there. We're never sure if they're neighbor cats just coming and going to hunt, or some that may be living here more or less permanently. It's hard to tell. People drop off cats in the countryside, and some of them are very shy, so you don't see much of them. But there was about 7 to 9 little piles of poop under this tree. The snow that you see in front, I've just thrown there. I had to pick up the stuff with a shovel and move it out of the way. This tends to be fairly dry under this tree most of the winter, so I guess that's why probably a cat that's staying in that old house has decided to use this for his toilet. So a few weeks ago I showed this big heavy log just behind me there that I started to cut, and I'm just going to give it a try again today. I think most of it's supported where it's sitting, so if you got something that's up on one end, down in another place, it can bend after you cut, and then if you have a problem getting your saw out and cutting through, you could break your saw, of course. I think it's all right now, so I'm going to give it a shot again today, and it's the smaller saw, so I'm going to be cautious. Start with the far end of it and see how it's going. A little liquid courage, just coffee. Our warm spell is continuing. Today might be the warmest, I think something like 12 or 13 degrees here at home, even warmer towards Rocky. The forecast was 16. I'm not sure if it quite got there, but close. There is quite a bit of wind, which of course is what's blowing in the warm weather. Makes it feel a little bit cooler, but still very nice for this time of year. As you can see in some of these wooded areas where the snow never lays too deep, it is just about gone. Some open areas, again towards Rocky, where there's probably been a little bit more of the warm air. Some of the fields are quite bare. Still quite a bit of snow in other places. But for mid-January, this is not a lot of snow. We often get a warm spell like this at least once or a few times through the winter. This one's a bit long, but then our cold spell before this was quite long also, so unusual for January maybe, but not unheard of overall. We'll see if we get some cold weather in about a week. It's supposed to get colder, but not for very long, I think. Apart from one very brief occasion to grab a few pre-cut logs, I haven't been out on the farm in a couple of months now, which feels kind of weird. I've been harvesting wood on the acreage here, and I'm just going out now for the first time in a while. We had a few really windy days this week, so I'm going to check and see if there's any new trees fallen that I can use for firewood, and there were already a couple of good ones not too far away. So I'm just going to get out there first and do a little scouting around. We had really warm weather last week, a few days, and then some colder days. Today probably just below the freezing mark or around the freezing mark, no melting yet. So there's a lot of ice in places where there was water and slush. Still snow in a lot of places, and then a lot of areas are actually melted right out as well, so kind of a mixed bag. Here's a new one that probably just fell the other day. It's hard to tell now because the recent snow has melted, but it is on top of the snow back here, so yeah, I think this is probably a new one. This is quite close to home, so very easy to get to. Sort of medium quality, looks like. I think it looks fairly dry. A bit lightweight, but there should be some decent wood in there. Here's another one, and not very much farther. This is one I had seen already previously. You can tell it's been there for a while because the snow was either melted or just never fell as much directly underneath it. A bit of a snow shadow there, so that is, I think this one might be a little bit denser wood than the other one. So there we are. Hauled back the full first tree that I showed, fallen in the bush there. There's still some branches and things to bring back another day, but I got most of it. That's 12 trips, 10 loads on the sled, and a couple of trips just carrying some of the longer, lighter pieces. Some of the stuff closer to the trunk was actually fairly heavy. There's a bit green still down at the bottom, but the farther I went, the lighter it got. These last pieces on there are quite dry and light. Just going to cut a few little bits, some medium and small stuff to take up to the house. There's enough up there for the night still, so I'm not going to do too much of that. And that will be it for today. Not quite sunset, but getting pretty close. Well, this was a little bit unexpected. I was expecting sort of a dry night, so I didn't bother picking up those pieces of wood on the ground, for example, although I did cover the bulk of the wood. Just a little bit of fresh snow, probably a centimeter at the most. It's hard to tell because it was windy as well. So the trees are not white. It was windy overnight and this morning. Still a little bit of wind, gusty wind at times. Mixed blessing because I have to spend a little bit of time clearing the snow, but on the other hand, now the paths are freshly snowy, so the parts that were dry will be easier to pull the sled. So overall, probably mostly positive, and certainly we need the moisture, so a good thing for the soil. Our high for today is sitting somewhere up around minus 16, minus 17, or I should say down around. I was able to get a couple of good working days in cutting firewood this week, so I'm able to take off today and tomorrow that I would normally be cutting wood while it's cold out, and then I work on the weekend, so I wouldn't be cutting wood then anyway, but I've got enough ahead for the 4 days at least, and I'm not sure about Monday, but next week is going to generally get better again. This cold spell isn't too long. Possibly minus 25 tonight, which would be about the coldest night it looks like. Still not bad for a January cold spell. You're okay. You're good. I haven't been out this way for a long time. You can see there's no tracks, no trails, and fresh snow on top of everything anyway. A few days ago, this strip in front here was mostly bare. I won't be out for long today. It's kind of a cold day, and I do want to cut just a little tiny bit of wood. So just a little trip out to enjoy the pretty snow. We had some colder days, a touch warmer yesterday, and now today we're just probably a few degrees below freezing, and the next few days will be above freezing again. And the sun, as you can see, is blazing. You can actually feel some warmth to it, so you know the season is progressing, and nearly blinding on the fresh white snow. Just heading out to look at a fallen tree back here. I think it's the same one I took some pieces of a few weeks back. Those pieces that I didn't need to cut, they were fairly short already, so I just hold them back, but there is a larger section there. I think it's the same one unless it's another fallen one. I just have to clean the snow off it now. Some soil or humus. It's very upper level. Piece of bark attached to it. I was cutting up a fallen log, and part of it was frozen to the ground, and this was what came up there. So this is right underneath trees in a wooded area. So very nice humusy stuff. I'm going to take in for use for plants inside. We are into our warm-up phase again. It was still something like -10 overnight at least. And when I came out an hour or two ago, it was just maybe a couple of degrees above freezing. No sun at that point, so there really was very little melting. At the moment it's sunny, and I actually had to take off even my lighter jacket, take off my winter hat, put on just a cap. Slight chance of rain tomorrow, so I am doing a bit of wood today, even though I was up really early for a trip to town today for some car stuff. But back home pretty early, so I figured I might as well come out just in case that rain happens tomorrow.